and welcome to Olivia On Purpose, a WSPA Plus exclusive podcast where we speak with movers and shakers here in the upstate. We talk to them about career, lifestyle, and what it takes to make it. Here with us today, we have none other than Christine Velasquez. Thank you so much for joining me today on the podcast. How are we?
Hi, Olivia. Oh, we're doing great. I'm so happy to be with you.
Doing good on a Thursday morning. For people at home,
Yeah.
tell me about yourself. Who is Christine Velasquez?
Oh my goodness. I've been in higher ed marketing for over 20-something years now.
Okay.
I've stopped counting.
Doesn't look like you look like you're 20, so that doesn't make sense.
Stop it. Go on. And my late husband and I moved here to Greenville for my position at Furman in May of 2017. So,
Okay.
we're not newbies, but,
No.
I know we're not, natives yet.
But long enough,
but
almost
yeah,
10
I think
years.
so.
At that
Yeah.
point, then you can start to call yourself.
Yeah.
You've definitely seen a lot of the development that's come along in the
Yes.
upstate, right? When you were
Yeah.
here, was that when it was just starting, or was that in the middle of it? How did that work?
Well, I think I think a lot had already been done, of course,
Then?
at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, but certainly a lot of, so much continuously since then. So it's been interesting to see.
Now, where did you come here from?
We were in Central Florida.
Florida.
A little place, Florida.
Yeah.
A little town called Ocala.
Yeah.
And at the time I worked for the University of Florida. So spent
Not a
lot of time
Gator.
in
Enemy
Gainesville.
territory.
I'm
I
a
went to
Terp.
UCF. Oh, you're a
Oh,
Terp.
that's
Oh,
right.
you're even worse because
I
we were in
know.
the same conference
I
for so
know.
long. I
I know.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So then you went to go work for the Gators, and
Yeah.
then you got the job up here, and now
I
you're a
did.
Den.
I did.
Okay, I know that
am.
obviously you had come on Your Carolina with Jamarcus because of
Yes.
some of the wine that you worked with the
Yep,
university.
yep.
Okay, pretty good. Go
Yeah,
Paladins.
go
Love
Dens.
that. Okay, so you guys moved here 2017. I guess next year it will be 10 years.
Yes.
I would call you a
So
native.
crazy.
What are your hobbies? What do you like to do?
Oh, well, I love my girls.
Yeah?
I have Franca Jean and Lizzie Lou.
Sweet
Two
puppies?
Fur babies.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just spending a lot of time with them. I love travel. I love basing my travel around seeing family and friends and
Okay.
things. So I try to get that in. A lot's changed over the past couple of years. So I'm kind of trying to figure out what type of hobbies and things I want to get back into.
Sure.
But I've taken some Spanish language classes
Cool.
because Carlos was from Colombia,
Okay.
South America. So I wanted to keep that language
Yeah.
skill fresh. And I love surrounding myself with community and the people I love.
Where's your
This
favorite
is
place to travel?
Oh my goodness, anywhere new. But I also came up with this trick many years ago, which is like make sure whatever that trip is, the last couple of days are very relaxing.
Yeah.
And then I take a few buffer days off when I get home.
Oh.
So treat yourself
Genius.
next time. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always
Yeah.
tough needing a vacation from a vacation
Yeah.
when you cram it all in and then all of a sudden you're
Yeah.
exhausted when you get home.
Yeah, work it into the timeline. Work it
Totally.
into the itinerary.
Do you have any 2026 travel plans?
I do. I have so many. I have to narrow them down. But my father-in-law is turning 95 this year.
Okay.
So I definitely want to be there for his birthday in Medellin. So that'll be in October. He's a Halloween baby. He's just delightful. I
That's
love
so
him.
exciting.
You can
So
see
you'll-
my smile. He makes me smile just thinking about him. He's a
You'll
doll.
head that way end of October?
Yeah. And we got to get in some sunshine here
Yeah.
and there too. So
Totally.
we'll figure that out.
I had my blood work done yesterday and I
Oh.
learned I am deficient in vitamin D.
Well, then we need to.
To think,
We can
step
fix that.
outside. It's
There's
the
a-
winter, I know, but dang, I was
We
like
can fix
that. That's where I fell short. Okay, so today having you on the podcast, obviously, fortunate circumstances bring us
Yes,
together, but
yes.
unfortunate circumstances are why you are here today. As a widow, you mentioned your late husband, Carlos, and being a widow / working and dealing through grief is something that a lot of people can relate to, but sometimes it's just a difficult conversation to have. Has that been the case for you? What has been your experience?
I guess I decided, but I don't know how conscious it was, but I always just felt like I needed to express myself and what I was feeling, and so I just never really edited kind of how I was feeling or what I needed, and it's a hard thing to do, but I think other people were looking to me for some guidance on how to help and how to be supportive. And so I just really wanted people to understand, I think for the most part, that do talk about Carlos. I'm always thinking about him, like when I, even today, like first thing when I wake up in the morning and, you know, last thing before I go to rest. I really felt compelled to describe kind of what I was feeling and dealing with. And I think my work colleagues found that helpful.
Totally.
And I just needed to get it out. Maybe that's because I'm Italian. It just felt natural. But I really, I read a couple of books that I thought were helpful, and it just sort of really spoke to me. So there are a couple books. It's Okay, You're Not Okay is one of them.
I love that.
And I think people are familiar with The Body Keeps the Score. And so it was just very affirming, some of the things I read, and I just thought there wasn't language around it. You know, culturally, it's not something that we talk about. I just wanted to be descriptive about what I was feeling.
Yeah. And usually that kind of provokes conversation, maybe
Yes.
from people who were hesitant to bring it up or talk to you about it at all.
Yes.
So I can understand how being able to relate to such a heavy topic kind of also probably connected you to people maybe closer than you anticipated.
Yes, it really gave people kind of, it disarmed folks, and I think it made them more curious. And so I remember one of the things I would say a lot to put other people at ease would be, you're not going to make me sad by talking about it.
Okay.
I'm already sad.
Yeah.
I'm already thinking about it. And the fact that someone else would want to talk about Carlos or share a memory or ask me how I'm doing just helped me feel even more connected.
Yeah.
And I did feel the most sense of community I'd ever felt in my entire life.
Support.
I've always been sentimental just growing up, and I've always really loved family and always made sure I spent quality time with family. Carlos and I always made sure we had time for each other. And so I think that was part of it, is being open. You receive, you know, that support and openness from others more. And so I definitely felt that more than ever.
Yeah, I love that. So to piggyback off and to take a step back, can you tell me and us about who Carlos was and why did you two fall in love? How did you meet? I want the whole backstory.
So we met in 2004. We were playing soccer on a co-ed adult soccer league.
An IM team?
Yes.
I love it.
In Ocala. And so, he noticed me first, of course.
Shocker.
But I did kick the crap out of him when we were scrimmaging a little bit.
Was that you throwing the olive branch maybe?
Well, I just didn't, when I play soccer, I don't care who's in my way, you know?
I love it.
And we ended up on the same team, and then that was we just kept finding each other and talking, and, you know, after games, the team would go and celebrate or wallow, depending on the outcome of whatever that match was. And we just kept kind of finding each other and talking, and I found him, he had the kindest eyes. He just had this boyish face and such kind eyes, and very charming, very playful, really funny, and just so intelligent.
Okay.
I mean, his brain was like a sponge. He and his father have so much in common in their love for history, their understanding of the world and economics and just different things. So we could really just talk about anything.
Yeah.
But then, like I said, he would be just really silly and playful, and he liked scaring me, like surprising me in the house and just doing silly things.
What was he doing there in Florida?
So he's a truck driver. He had moved to Ocala with two of his children and was recently, divorced. So he was driving his truck and being a dad, and he was a great dad. I loved watching him. My favorite thing was to watch the kids giggle at his jokes. Like they found him. They just were so tickled by him.
That's so sweet. To give context for people who don't know, Carlos's death was sudden, compared to, not that it makes it any different, versus had you known maybe he had an illness or whatnot. So it kind of is a different approach in terms of handling grief. What was that experience? And obviously whatever you're comfortable with getting into.
Sure, I'm happy to share. I think that part is kind of the real important piece. Is he was killed in a car accident while he was working. Somebody who's extremely careless, driving about 104 miles an hour, rear-ended him. He was in his truck, so yep, he flipped, and that person fled the scene. And at the time, my mother and I were in New Jersey visiting my uncle and other family, and so that was just a really horrifying and unbelievable phone call that I got from the coroner. And immediately, I reached out to some friends to find. I was advised by the state troopers and their crime victim staff that I should find a lawyer. And so my dear friend that I work with at Furman, who is our general counsel there, was really helpful. And this is kind of when you started seeing community really come around, and people show up in really fascinating ways that you would never expect. So I tried to stay very level-headed of what's next. I've always been good. Part of my job is crisis communications and issues management and stuff. And things have happened in the family over the years with illness and different things. But this felt very unbelievable. I remember hearing at the time that it would, from professionals, therapists, that it would take probably 2 years before I even kind of processed that this was real, that he was gone. So, but I had to just quickly manage and wanted to be very present for all of the legal pieces. And so bond hearings, flying back right away to go to a bond hearing. So I remember the last conversation I had with him. I replay that a lot in my head.
Do you want a minute? Yeah. Take all the time you need. Raw and real. An empath and a journalist. Who told me to pursue this career? You know what I mean?
Oh, you're in the right place.
Well, obviously take the time you need, I think having to put on a brave face while you're processing so many emotions.
Yes.
But having to, like you said, you have to show up for this bond hearing, right? You are a shell of a human at this point. How did you persevere? Was mom there? How did that work?
Well, and she was stunned too. So she was with me for the first one because we flew directly from Newark Airport to Charleston. My lawyer picked us up and kind of prepped us, and he was doing his own research because this had just happened, that night before. And so my conviction was I need to be there for Carlos. Okay. I want to speak for Carlos. I want to ensure that Carlos has, and his children and his family, but I really put that in the forefront. And that got me through, I would say, the first year and change, first 2 years, because there were different things that I could focus on. He wasn't physically here for me to care for him and, meal prep and hang out and do all those things. But these are now things that I could do to be supportive and to be there for him. And so it became about that.
Sure.
About justice for Carlos and making sure he had a voice.
Channeling those feelings into other outlets. Yes. I can understand that.
With conviction. And I felt very prepared. I had my very first panic attack at the second, I can't even remember, first or second bond hearing. So I experienced what that was like. I had no idea. I'd never had an actual panic attack.
It can be
People
scary.
talk a lot about anxiety and panic attacks, but they're very, very scary. But I just had to make sure that he had a voice and that everything was being done and that I knew all the details and was also protected from some of the details because it's just, it was a horrible accident.
When is that anniversary of his death?
Carlos was killed August 12th, 2023.
Okay. So in August of this year, it will be 3 years. You have worked through 2 years. I'm sure it feels like the blink of an eye.
It does.
What has life been like since for you?
I'm still trying to get my footing. Everything has changed. The future has changed. I don't know what that is. I think I've learned to not worry so much about that. It's been a lot of how can I continue to grieve and to manage some of the trauma that comes along with just the nature of the accident and some of the details and things. How do I do that but still function? So I've learned to kind of try to compartmentalize a little bit. I right away looked for the right therapist, which is a very difficult process. I mean, it just feels impossible. I was really, really shocked at how difficult it was to find someone with a particular specialty. But I had 3, and I just decided I wasn't, working at the time. I was on medical leave. I said, well, this is how I'm going to spend my time. So in the early days, it was very much about going to therapy. I would walk. I walked everywhere. I burned out 3 pair of sneakers.
Wow.
From just walking, and I think that was me trying to process what happened and, what to do about it. I also spent a lot of my energy and time related to the criminal case, but then also thinking about how to honor Carlos and how to be there for others. I'm not the only one who experienced loss. He touched so many people. His cousins were his best friends. He had best friends who were like family. I mean, he just really, he was the likable one.
Yeah.
In most ways.
Oh, stop it.
So I spent a lot of time just trying to get through the day. And so now, all of the legal things wrapped up in the summertime, last summer, in 2025. So it was a really long process. And that was both a relief, but also I even grieved not having that to do for him.
Right.
So it was just a weird moment when the person was convicted and sent to prison. That felt good enough. But then now it was, how do I continue to honor Carlos and his memory? And so now I kind of turned to that. And what it is, the answer, is just spending time with his family and loving his family. It's just a beautiful relationship, all because of him.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, this sounds like the perfect place to take a break because we are going to go into that subject. There will be more Olivia on Purpose after this quick one. Hello, welcome back to Olivia on Purpose, a WSPA Plus exclusive podcast. I am sat here today with Miss Christine Velasquez. We are talking about life and you navigating life as a widow. You lost your husband, Carlos, in 2023. We talked a lot about him, and what we just left off on was the relationship that you had with his kids. Do you still maintain that relationship today?
My goodness.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yes. They are. So Carlos had 3 children already when we met. They were very young. The 2 that lived with him, and then 1 that lives in Bogota, Gabby, Wampa, and Valentina. I've known them since they were really tiny. So it just seems impossible not to
maintain.
Yeah.
What is something that you did not expect as a result in losing your lifelong partner? Is there a silver lining to this at all?
No.
I figured.
There isn't. There is no silver lining, but I think I understand what might be meant by that, which is what I was talking about earlier in terms of that feeling of community. People talk about that all the time.
Sure.
And I've heard it, and I've just never felt it until now. And it's the little things. You just, speaking for myself, people came around and came through that I never would have expected, in ways that I never would have expected. It was interesting to feel all of that love, and so I think, thinking more about myself was something that I've had to try to learn to do, simply because I really wanted to We were very much equals in our relationship, but I just really enjoyed doing things for Carlos, whatever made his life easier or happier. I mean, that's love, you know. I just really wanted to spoil him, and so without him, how do I do that? Where do I focus that energy?
Right.
And so, so trying to focus some of that on myself in ways that I need. And that's kind of challenging, is to just kind of really hone in on, all right, what is it that I need? And sometimes it's just rest, you know, and
Sure.
sometimes it's to see his family. And sometimes it's just to sit in a dark room with a glass of red wine. And,
Amen.
You know?
Amen,
Yeah.
sister. I mean, you are barking up the right alley. And how has your perspective changed in the last 2.5 years?
I've always been the type of person who, and I think maybe this is why I'm in communications, is to really just listen and see people as individuals and things like that. And I mentioned always being sentimental and with memories and family and things like that. But I think that the level of depth of that, my senses for so many feelings have been heightened, and it's good and it's kind of scary. So, you know, on the scarier, I guess, side, it's with driving and with crosswalks and noise and film and television. I mean, anything that is remotely, you know, any kind of violence, like I just feel it differently. I feel like if I'm in larger crowds, I get a little nervous, like if I feel like anyone's getting angry or something might happen, and that's getting better over time.
Okay.
But that's one side of just being really aware and having this kind of a heightened sensitivity. And the wonderful and beautiful side is I've always loved really hard, and now it's just look out. You know, like my friends and my family, I think that's probably one of the things they'll say.
If you could talk to Christine in the near months after Carlos's death, what would you tell her?
I would tell her you're doing exactly what you should be doing, and don't worry about what everyone else might be thinking or feeling. You know, not so much right now. I tried to think outside of my own grief and give others opportunity to come together, and then I had to just take a beat from that. I had Carlos's celebration of life a year later. I really am so glad I waited. I didn't want it to seem like everything went by so quickly, and that's kind of how it felt. It felt like seasons were changing, and that pissed me off.
Yeah.
How could a season change when he's not here anymore?
The world turns.
How could the world continue?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and so I would tell her that you're doing exactly right. There is no playbook. There is no right or wrong way to grieve. I think I gave myself a hard time a couple of times about maybe I shouldn't have been so open or honest or said whatever about it. And I would tell her probably don't worry about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a widow to experience grief, and many people do experience grief, and like we mentioned earlier, very hard to talk about. But obviously today you're paving the way for people to maybe feel one bit closer towards speaking their truth, and like you said, that could build a connection. For people who are maybe at home thinking that they have not dealt with some of the hardships that you've worked through, and they need to hear some words of encouragement, or just, I guess, from one to another, what is something that you would maybe say?
Just that it's okay, that it sucks.
Yeah.
And don't fight that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let it suck.
It's horrible and it sucks. And just find something that gets your feet hitting the ground. But otherwise, just feel it. You know, feel it and experience it, and find a way to talk about it.
I'm sending you all the love and light in the world. 2026 is your year. Obviously, this was just a little bit heavier of a podcast, rightfully so. to lighten things up before you
Yeah,
go,
let's
I
do
have a rapid fire. We do this every podcast, and I didn't think it was right to just let you go without picking your brain just a little bit.
Okay.
This is just a no-brainer. You answer, and we go. We might have to yap about some depending on what
Okay.
you choose to answer. So you ready?
Yeah, I'm here for it.
Summer or winter?
Summer.
Pinterest or Etsy?
Etsy.
Fridays off or Mondays off?
Mondays.
I think so too.
Ugh.
Isn't that funny?
Makes the week so much easier.
Right? Like
I
get
to
everything
slide
together.
in easy.
Totally.
Yeah.
My girl. Iced or hot coffee?
Iced.
Red wine or white wine?
Red.
Send gifts or receive them?
Send.
I'm receive. Let me just be so clear with you.
Then
Receive
we
those.
work out.
I'm totally
We work out
joking.
really well
A
together.
podcast or a book?
This podcast.
Window or aisle seat?
Window my entire life up until, this is kind of related to what we were just talking about, up until like a few months ago when I started kind of, traveling again. I'm all about that aisle now.
Totally.
I gotta get out.
Yeah.
I gotta get out.
Need a breath.
I mean, if it's me and you,
Yeah.
and it's a two-seater,
Sure.
I'll
you can have
snag
the
that
aisle.
window.
I'll take the window.
Okay,
We'll probably
all right.
sleep and snore
Yeah,
on each
we'll
other's
just-
shoulders
we
on the
will.
flight. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for coming
Thanks
and
for
joining and for
having
sharing
me.
your story. I genuinely appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. And hopefully some of you at home are able to take away some connections from this vlogcast podcast that is the lovely Olivia on Purpose. We appreciate you tuning in. As always, there will be more Olivia on Purpose podcast next week. My information is up on your screen now. Should you decide to shoot me an email if you want to be featured on the pod, that is all for today. We'll see you next time.